Hello everyone and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host Prince Magnum. Welcome to Off the Chain, and in this episode we're going to be continuing onward with our walkthrough of the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. In this particular episode we are onward and upward heading towards our fourth labyrinth. If you remember in the last episode we went and got the raft. The raft now will allow us to cross over to the fourth labyrinth. And in the fourth labyrinth, we are looking for not only the next piece to the Triforce, but we're also looking for the item called a ladder. Now, what this item will do is allow us to cross anything that's the same height or width of Link. This is important because we're going to need this by the time we especially get to the fifth labyrinth. You cannot go past, you can't get very far without it. So it's very crucial that we pick that up in this particular labyrinth right now. Now again, if you're new to if you're new to this series, not seeing what's going on and not kept up with it, let me go ahead and again reiterate. Before the term dungeon was used in Legend of Zelda, we used to call them labyrinths or levels. That's how the actual guide book referred to it in to what you would call dungeons. That's what the original user's manual called them. They called them labyrinths, or they called them levels. So because of that, we're going to stay with the tradition here. And something else that should be noted right away. Now, at this point, Link is underpowered. This is where one of those typical stages of the original NES where you now realize that you need an upgrade. You've got to upgrade, or otherwise the fights are going to get very, very brutal from here. The particular blue guys, which I do not remember their names, it's not like I got the guidebook in front of me, the original user's manual. But when you hit them with the white sword, or if you're still running the original wooden sword from the beginning of the game, you're going to find that you're not going to kill them with one shot, and what will happen is they split apart into the red keys, and worse yet, when you go back, if you leave that room where they spawn and then go back in, they respawn that quickly. So don't expect a whole lot of loot at this point in time, because you're at that transitional stage where in the next video we're going to be going after the magic sword. The magic sword. This was long before we heard the term Master Sword. As a matter of fact, I did a video game theory on that, and we're going to do another one, a much more updated one, a little bit more in depth. And I know Nintendo, whenever they re-released this game on the Super NES, they kind of changed the names, and to me that's some serious George Lucas crap that we're not going to get into. So if you will, long before we heard the term Master Sword, we had the Magic Sword as the ultimate sword that sealed the darkness, which again we'll get back into at a later date. So now that we have discussed that, and we've kind of talked about how Link is underpowered, let me also reiterate at this particular moment, one of the things that should be noted is, I know one of the old jokes about this game is if you got killed by a keys in this game, you were a noob. Of course, we had a different term back then. We just said you were a crap player. But to be honest with you, if you haven't been playing the game for a while or anything like that, it's real easy to take several hits from them. You'll find that the boomerang is one of the best weapons for them. And, so just kind of a heads up on that. All right. And again, there you see what I was talking about, where Link whacks them, they split apart. So again, you're not going to get a whole lot in the way of loot inside this labyrinth. So just kind of a heads up on that. Just one of them horrible things that, we're just going to have to muscle through. Thankfully, we've got a potion. And We're going to see a return of a boss that we fought earlier in the game, but now it's not the boss, it's a demi-boss. So we're going to see that for, we're going to see that right here. And of course, that's going to also be a continuing theme throughout this version of the game. Real quick, while we're talking about, going after things and dealing with the toughness of this game, those particular pancake-looking things, I think they're called likes, like to eat magic shields. They enjoy magic shields. And with those spirit-looking things roaming around, if they touch Link, they won't necessarily hurt him, but what they will do is they will make it impossible for Link to draw his sword for a certain amount of time. When that happens, the likes will latch onto you, making it near impossible to fight back. They'll eat your magic shield, and the next thing you know, you're spending rupees on another magic shield. It sucks. It's just the way it is. So do yourself a favor. Be very, very careful when you're dealing with spots like this, and you've got spirits and likes coming after you. So just be very careful in that. All right, now we have the ladder, and now we can cross those areas that we could not cross before. And of course, in this particular room, we will be crossing over and continuing on with the dungeon, or labyrinth. Again, dungeon is a more modern term. In the old days, we called them labyrinths. Could you get away with either one? Yeah. In this particular case, they used both. All right. At this point, I will also say that, is it necessary, again, for us to pick up the map and the compass? Not really. By this stage in the game, the map and the compass, I pretty well know my way around a lot of these labyrinths, but the thing of it is that, if you haven't played the game for a while, if you're like me and you haven't played it a whole lot in a while, what you typically run into is that whole thing where you may have to cross-reference. When you go up to the item menu and you look at it, you can see that Link is keeping track of where he has been inside the labyrinth. So because of that, the map is nice to have because it'll help you cross-reference when it comes time. So just kind of bear that in mind. Is it a necessity to pick it up? No. Is it useful if you haven't played the game for a minute? Yes. Very useful. So it's up to you. Tomato, tomato. All right? Now, as we continue forward, if there's one thing that has always pissed me off about these games, it's those right there. I hate those things. If you ever want to see me get upset, just put me in a room with those dang things. I hate them. Anyhow, as we continue forward, we're getting close to the Triforce. We're going to be picking that up here in the next few moments. If I remember correctly, it's another multiple-headed dragon. I'll be honest with y'all, I filmed it, and it's been a little while since I looked at the footage. I need to get back into finishing the series up because I know a lot of you are really excited about, seeing this series, so I need to hurry up and finish it. So, but anyhow, at this moment, I'm going to life up because this dragon will kick my butt otherwise. Now, heads up on this, no pun intended. This particular dragon, when you take off one of the heads, it will fly around the room and still continue to keep attacking you. You have to defeat the whole thing. You have to take all the heads off. So don't play around. Get that dragon down and pick up your heart container. Go get that Triforce piece and get on to the next labyrinth. So now that we have discussed all of that, again, there's our Triforce piece, another one to the books, right? Okay, now, at this moment, we're going to come out and we're going to go back across, the lake where Labyrinth 4 is, and we're going to continue forward, and we're going to get the rest of the heart container pieces so we can get the magic sword. And for those keeping score, in the original Legend of Zelda, to collect the magic sword, you needed a grand total of 12 heart containers. In Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you need a grand total of 13. And that's actually been a gag that I will say between Princess Faye and myself, and when Jam and John would oftentimes see me play, you know, it was like it always used to be 12. So that was actually kind of a running gag. Now, while we're also on the subject of this being the original, let me also say, as I've been continuing to do this, kind of taking y'all down memory lane with me and showing you these old, you know, this old game and how much fun it really is. I know there are many millennials that swear up and down that the Nintendo 64, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask are the all-time greatest they're the all-time greatest of you know, the Legend of Zelda series. I'm going to argue that because, simply put, this is the original. They wouldn't have those games if it was not for this game. So I'm going to stress that again, that this is the original, and in most people's opinions, it is the best. And why is that also so? Again, not only did it start here, but it also created, in a lot of ways, some of the tradition that you will also see throughout the games, the top-down view. And you'll still see this in a lot of Legend of Zelda games, even if it is only in a handheld console. So, again, the top-down view started here, and it is still the tradition. Even with the re-release of, you know, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, that is still a top-down. So, here you're looking at, you know, a modern game console like the Nintendo Switch, and they're still doing the tradition. So, again, I know there are going to be some that might try to argue with me in the comments section below, but let me also reiterate, this game came first in 1986. This is the true original, and in my opinion, it is the best Legend of Zelda game. Now, we're now down to the point where I'm going to have to use the traditional save feature function. And again, I know I've talked about this in other videos where you had to, Link had to kill himself just so you could save. So Mom and Dad is screaming at you, get your butt to the table. Mom, I got to save my game. So there was no, you click on a button and then you hit save and then you could shut it off. There was none of that back in the NES days. What you had to do was you had to kill yourself, and that was how you saved your progress on this game. The only other way back then that you had to do it, you either had to beat the whole game in one sitting, or you had to write down a code that advanced you along far enough in the game so you can continue from there. Let me also reiterate, I know some people out there will say that, oh, well, that was just the primitive days of the NES. But you also have to remember, the only other true popular game console before the original NES was the Atari 2600. So, so having a save feature that was brand new, and, it was way ahead of its time. Also, one of the other things that should also be noted is the fact that this was probably one of the largest games up to this point. We were used to, a game lasting, 5-10 minutes, with the Atari 2600. Nope, not with the Nintendo. So there was a lot of new stuff at this time. So, all right, really, honestly and truthfully, at this point, there's really not a whole lot more to say about the game. I'm just kind of going around, killing some stuff, and getting ready to drop out into the original save function. So there really isn't much more to say. We are going to continue on with the series. In the next episode, we're going to go pick up the magic sword because we now have enough heart containers to do so. So we are definitely going to be doing that. Along with that, we are also going to, we're going to dive back into the theory on the Master Sword with this game. And I hope my buddy T-Belly is quick to pay very close attention to that, because him and I were talking about it in one of his live streams a little while back, and I want to revisit it just for him. As a matter of fact, I know it's going to be when I go to do that video, it is going to be a dedication to him, because we are such Legend of Zelda fans. All right, so that brings us to a good stopping point. As always, if you are not subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel, now would definitely be the time. Again, we are putting out really awesome content, and as the making of this video, the channel's going through some serious updates and some changes. So you definitely don't want to miss out on those changes. Along with that, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button and hit it really hard so YouTube knows that the Prince Magnum channel is a force to be reckoned with. And whew, as usual, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.